Hello and welcome back to another episode of Not the Real Podcast anymore. We have had a rebrand, baby. Things have changed. Aqua and I have been brainstorming, so I might even say brain squeezing, thinking of how to make this podcast a little bit more us. And this lovely little show is now going by the name Brain Squeeze. Yay! So exciting.
Cool.
Wow. So before we go into this episode, we have a little bit to cover. So Aqua, why did we choose Brain Squeeze?
Good question. I love your questions. Well, Pagu, we love the Real Podcast, but we wanted something that moved away from quote unquote the Real Pagu branding to make it more of a collaboration of our vibes. You might also notice that this episode is not live.
No.
We are gonna get a little more into that later. With that being said, hello and welcome back to another episode, or I guess the first episode of Brain Squeeze, your go-to podcast for content creator interviews, mental health chats, and general thoughts/opinions on life from two humans floating around space on a big rock. So, Pagu, what can listeners expect from the new podcast?
Well, if you are an avid listener of the podcast, or if you watch the podcast live, you probably are anticipating an interview today, but that is not happening. Well, kind of. I mean, I guess we're interviewing each other a little bit.
Yeah.
But we wanted to start bringing in more one-on-one episodes, kind of like we used to do, bring it back into the mix, where Aqua and I would just go over life topics, current events, random thoughts and feelings about things, maybe even doing more spa days like we did that one time. But who knows? But for today, we wanted to chat about the rebrand a little bit more, specifically chatting about our thoughts on rebrands in general, and even like offering some insights to our fellow creators out there who are thinking of doing one themselves. Because let me tell you, it was kind of stressful. So yeah, let's just dive into that. But first,
Yes, we have a message from our lovely sponsors. This episode of Brain Squeeze is brought to you by our sponsors, The Real Pagu and AquaMocha. For all your video and audio editing needs, DM The Real Pagu. She can help you spice up a fancy new channel trailer for your Twitch channel. Also, if you're looking for any emotes, sub badges, bit badges, or channel art, DM AquaMocha. She can take care of all your art needs.
yay, go do it.
Woo.
Aqua's working on some emotes for for my channel. It's not our channel anymore, it's my channel. And I'm really excited. So hell yeah. All right. So rebrand. Things
Yes.
obviously we haven't been posting and it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah,
We
we
haven't
took a
been
little break.
live. Yeah, we took a little bit of a break. So there's been some things that have happened in both of our lives, and I feel like maybe you guys care about that. So,
Yes, I
um,
would love to know what happened to your life.
there's so many things, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with my little life update. I have officially switched to a vegan diet. I feel like
Woo! Veganism.
yes, I feel like quarantine is getting to a point where I really truly have nothing else to do and talk about. So I'm just like switching up my life, switching up my diet, doing different things. So yeah, I went full vegan. How long has it been?
Oh,
Like a
yeah.
month? Been a month?
Yeah, it's been like more than a month, I think, because you stopped eating like meats and dairies, but you
Yeah,
didn't go officially vegan.
me and Boygu had started by like cutting out like milk products, like mostly just like
Mhm.
milk in general. We went to nut milk. So we were drinking like almond milk, and then we found oat milk.
Oh,
Let me enlighten you on the journey that is oat milk, because I feel like if you are a fan of nut milks,
oh, nice.
almond milks in general, almond milk is really freaking bad for the environment. So I felt like weird and like guilty eating it. You don't eat milk. I just felt weird and guilty like having
Yeah.
almond milk, right? So I decided to try out a bunch of different kinds. I hated coconut milk. I feel like it just tastes like
Oh,
water.
yeah, coconut milk tastes nasty. It tastes like,
Ugh.
ugh,
It
yikes.
it tastes like water. Like it's like water with a hint
Yeah.
of like cream.
Pee-pee.
And pee pee poo poo. No. It was gross. I didn't like it. So I like
Yeah.
did my whole journey through like different milks, and I landed on oat milk. And if you are like me and you're a fan of like thick milk, But you're trying to like get away from milk. Like I was raised on like thick milk, like what is
Just
it?
sucking the cow's
Just
titty.
straight from the cow. Hashtag shout out to all my Vermonters where we just drink milk straight from the cow. No, but I was like raised on, is it 1% milk? Like the like highest percentage of like fat to
Like
milk,
fat milk, isn't
like
it?
whole fat milk. Like I don't know. I like me some thick milk. So that was an adventure. So we started by cutting out like all of our milk, and then it took us a really long time to get rid of things like eggs and cheese, but like we
Yeah.
slowly started to do it, and it took us like 6 months to finally get to a point where we weren't eating any animal products. And let me tell you, I feel great. Like
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
so great.
everyone that you talk to who is like vegan, who has gone vegan, like I feel like they like to talk about how they feel great, but like I get it now. Like I feel good. I
Yeah.
feel
There's
I
a hype around it for a reason.
Yeah, I feel like mentally good. I feel physically, I don't feel as like sluggish anymore. I also have a
Hmm.
gluten intolerance, but I ignore that. So a
Ah,
lot of like a lot of like vegan things are also gluten free, which is great. But yeah, so that's like a really big exciting thing in my life. I'm vegan now. Also on top of that, I've been getting my life together with like exercise and portion control, and it feels good to have some sort of like, we've talked about this in the past, like some sort of
yeah.
like schedule, not schedule, like a routine, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like portion control is like a really easy small way to kind of put some sort of like routine or like regularness into your
Yeah.
life, especially like right now, like nothing is normal. So yeah, I did that. And I also, oh, Just Dance. Oof.
Oh, nice.
Have you ever played Just Dance?
Oh my god, let me tell you, in high school, bitch, I used to fucking love Just Dance. In high school, I was so right now I weigh like over 200 pounds, but
Same.
like in high school, I used to be slim, little,
Skinny
petite.
legend, slim thick.
Yeah. And I would just love Just Dance. So
Yeah.
I would do Just Dance every day. I would come home from school and I would just do Just Dance in my like
Yeah.
room.
Yeah,
And
I've been doing it every single night, like right before I go to bed. And I was under the impression that it was a video game. Like I wouldn't think,
yeah,
you wouldn't think that like a video game would have like it, you,
it
it
would make you
hurts.
work out.
It
Yeah.
hurts. Like I did it for the first time and I went through like the K-pop playlist because
Oh,
that's another
nice.
life update. I'm a K-pop stan now. So I
Oh,
went through
weed
like the
stand.
I went through the K-pop playlist, and I mean the one thing about K-pop is like they got moves, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
grooving. So it hurt. It really hurt. Um Blackpink just
I love
kicked my
them.
ass. But anyway, Just Dance has been great. I've been vibing on some Just Dance, and I did have a little bit of a stressful moment here recently. It was nothing serious, but as we know, we're in quarantine. Miss Rona is strong and heavy, so
Yup.
trying not to leave my house as much as I can. Wear your mask. You see, we're wearing ours,
We're wearing a
so
mask. Yeah.
if you're watching this on YouTube, wear your mask. But so the vets, and I don't know if it's like this in where you are, Aqua, but the vet, they don't let you go into the room with your dog
Yeah.
because it's like so small. Like vet offices and like vet rooms are really small.
Yeah.
So like when you bring your dog or your cat, they come and get them like from the car, and then they do their stuff and like bring them back out. And you
Yeah.
like check in via like online apps and stuff. That's how they're doing it here. And Boone, my dog, he is a pit bull terrier something mix. He's a dog. And he has a lot of anxieties when it comes to being around people he's never met before, he doesn't know. So this whole thing of like not being able to bring your pet or not being able to go into the vet with your animal was I'm really stressed about that. So I got to a point where I had to get his nails trimmed, and
Hmm.
he will not let me trim his nails unless he is heavily drugged. Just like a thing that a
Oh
lot
no.
of vets will do for animals
Yeah.
who have a lot of anxiety around, their feet and like getting their nails done. it's normal. I don't want anyone to
Yeah,
like at me and be like, I can't believe you do that to your dog. Like, no, it's
it's
prescribed by the
normal.
vet.
Yeah.
Like they tell me to do it kind of thing. And he's totally
And they're
fine.
already at the vet,
Yeah,
They're already at the vet.
exactly. Yeah. So we I had to bring him in for his like annual checkup appointment
Hmm.
thing. And they were like, we were I was talking to them, I was like, he needs to get his nails clipped, like it's been way too long. And I felt like really guilty. I was like really embarrassed, because I was like a bad dog mom, low key, but I don't know. So I
Oh,
was
no,
like
you're not.
feeling some sort of like anxiety around that. And
Hmm.
um I talked to the vet and I was like, hey, like I need to get my dog's nails trimmed, but he isn't good with it. And they were gonna do like a fully sedated, like he had to go under kind of thing.
Oh my
And
God.
they were like the nurse, like the what do they call, like I guess like the vet tech, like the
Yeah.
person that's not the vet. Yeah. She was so sweet and she was like really nice to Boone and like gave him treats and stuff.
Oh,
And when we got there, she was like, I don't think he needs to be sedated. Like I think he is going to be perfectly fine if we just give him, the anti-anxiety medicine that we give
yeah.
dogs. And they have this thing at my vet called the kind clipping or something like that, where they
Oh,
it was so cute. They like set up a whole room and they put a bed in there and a bunch of blankets and snacks, and it's three technicians. One of
hmm,
them's clipping the nails, one of them is like petting the dog, and then the other one is just giving him treats. So it's like
yeah.
so they do that, and they also gave us like medicine to give him, and he was very out of it for like 48 hours. It was very stressful for me. If I know you have dogs too, so it's like
Yeah.
whenever your little baby is like hurt, or he wasn't even hurt, but it was just like seeing him in such a like I guess like helpless, because he
Worry.
was just like so out of it and like so
Uh-huh.
confused. I think confused is more of the word. I just felt really like sad. I don't know, but he's
Yeah.
he's thriving. He has his nails trimmed now. His feet don't hurt anymore.
Oh, that's
um
good.
and it just feels a lot better. But that's my life update. That's what's been going on with me.
Hmm.
Vegan, exercise, and my dog. I also got new internet, but that was a whole adventure. Ugh.
That was an
Anyway.
adventure. If you want to hear that adventure, you can go to Paga's Discord. That was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot. But what's
But
what's been going on with you?
so in my life, what's been happening with me is I've been going through a health journey. Um, so like I have told Pagu, and I haven't told a lot of people, but my mom has heart failure,
Mm,
and I was really extremely stressed out about that
yeah.
because she's very young, and me and my mom don't have the best relationship, but I just think I don't want my sister to be left without a mom.
Yeah.
So I like really took on the role of taking care of her and making sure she got her medication, and
Yeah.
it was like a journey and experience because this is semi new to me because like I've not had to deal with anyone with heart failure.
Yeah. My grandfather has issues with his heart. I totally get like the stress of it, and it's like the unknown.
Yeah, and it's just like a constant, like I wish we didn't have COVID, uh
Yeah.
because that would have made things 10 times easier.
Yep.
But the one good thing about the medical field right now is that um appointments are a lot faster. Like you go in, you get everything done, and then you get out. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
I
her
haven't had to go
procedure.
to a doctor at all during this, so I would assume that it would be like incredibly crowded.
No, it's not. Everybody's waiting outside, that's for sure. There's a line, but there
Oh.
you have to have a schedule. You can't just walk in slash
Yeah.
drop in anymore.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like extremely cleaner now. Like it's a lot of like people constantly cleaning, and everything is protected. Like everything has a plastic cover, and somebody sits there, they remove the plastic cover. It makes me feel more safe because before hospitals were kind of like, you would think they would be clean, but before they were really dirty.
Yeah, they're kind of
So
like not things that you wouldn't think over,
yeah, exactly.
like
And
taking extra precautions now.
yeah, exactly. And I think like that's the best thing that could happen right now in healthcare, and
Yeah.
hopefully we get hopefully COVID passes and we're able to come out of this better.
Yeah, I think that there definitely is going to be like I think we've talked about this in a past episode. Like, I think
Mhm.
there's going to be sort of like a new normal when it comes to like hygiene and like cleanliness. Like, I feel
Yes,
like
exactly.
if you see in like, Asian countries, they wear masks when they have like a runny nose or when they have a cough or something, just out of like respect of like other people. And I would really like to see like Western countries kind of like
Adopt
develop
that.
and like adopt that like
Hmm.
cultural trend. Like, I think that would just be awesome
Amazing.
in general. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be weird to go to like a store and see someone that doesn't have a mask on and stuff, but I don't know. I'm just like curious to see like the outcome of like post COVID, or like not even post COVID but like post quarantine.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually really eager to see it because I want our our country, to do better.
Yeah.
And I've also been paying attention to my health because a lot of the stress from that made me really sick. And I hadn't told Pagu until like a couple days ago,
Yeah.
which we'll go into that later. That I developed hypertension one,
Yep.
and a couple days ago, my blood pressure was 150 over 89,
Yeah, which
and
is,
my
if for anyone who doesn't know blood pressure, that's not normal.
yeah, the regular blood pressure for adults 20 and over is 120 over 80. So that was a big uh, shock for me
Yeah.
because before COVID, I had a checkup and I was clean. I was like, "You're a healthy girl. You can be doing anything you want." So,
Mm-hmm. Now they're like,
um,
oop.
yeah, now it's like you gotta focus on your health. So what I did is I got myself a little blood pressure machine so I can record my blood pressure. And today, thankfully, Sunday, August 30th, the day we're recording it,
Yep. It
I told Pagu my blood pressure was a little above average. It was 120, was it 127?
was like 128 or something like that.
Yeah, it
Definitely
was
a
like,
lot better than what it was before.
yeah, 123. There you go.
Okay.
123.78. Yeah. And that is like golden. That is
Yeah.
solid. That's like I should be there when I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
But so I'm working on um my stress and my anger management too cuz I
Mm.
don't I have a lot of anger. Like I feel like I'm always angry and I'm trying to learn how to like not be angry and cope with my anger and then like get myself out of situations that will not stress me out.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. Like,
Hmm.
personally, is like we both have, I feel like both of us, like, whenever we get either like overly stressed or even just like anxious, like for me, my anxiety likes to come out in like spouts of anger, or like, I
Hmm.
wouldn't even say anger, but just like frustration with like everything, like myself, the people that are talking to me, like everything, the thing that I'm doing, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that we definitely relate on that together, of like sort of like not really knowing how to control those feelings. And I think for me it's like not knowing where those feelings are coming from, and then I get more frustrated because I'm like, okay, why am I feeling like this? I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
stupid. So that's good. I'm glad that you're like doing something about that, because I know that you were like beating yourself up about it.
Yeah, and I think like I beat myself up about it because I was like, this is why the podcast is on hold because my health and I need
Yeah.
to take care of my health, but I'm frustrated because blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And with like doing all that, like I'm not dieting, but
Mm-hmm.
I put myself on like portion controlling
Yep.
and cutting out greasy food slash dairy. And I feel like dairy is the huge factor in it. Like, I messaged in the Discord today. For those who don't know, we have a Discord, or not we. Sorry, it's just Pagu who has a Discord. And so I was like, I can't have cheese anymore because cheese literally makes me go. So goodbye, dairy. This is the last time I'll be with you.
Rip dairy.
Yeah.
Oof, that's good. I mean, like I was just saying too, like with the whole vegan thing, like I just feel lighter. I feel like dairy and like greasy foods and stuff like that. Not saying that you can't have like greasy vegan food, because
Mm-hmm.
there are some recipes that are like five
Wild enough.
cups of soy sauce, and like
Oh shit.
it's a lot. But yeah, it just kind of generally makes you feel lighter and like, less sluggish. Like fast food and like meat in general has always, red meat specifically, has always made me feel so sluggish. And I hate
Yeah.
it. Such a gross feeling. But yeah, so that's our little life updates. There we are. That's it. Podcast done. I'm just kidding. I think like you touched on that feeling of like not doing the podcast because we're like stressed out and stuff. That definitely
Mhm.
came for me. It came with the rebrand, if that makes sense. Like I like almost like stressed myself out
Mhm.
by getting so like anxious and just like overwhelmed with the rebrand. And not saying that like I didn't want to do the rebrand or whatever. Like it was just like change in general scares me. And it doesn't even matter
Yeah.
like what kind of change it is. If you watch my stream, I'm always constantly talking about like I don't want to play a new game because I'm scared that this is going to happen or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that we want to touch on a little bit of like the process of like learning how to multitask and like doing that quickly, whenever dealing with mental health, like depression, anxiety, anger, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like how we were able to like multitask with that with the podcast and the rebrand and just like our content in general, because you do your art, I do my stream, Aqua has her like we have all of our stuff that we do, right? And like being
Mhm.
able to multitask all of that, because like you don't want to get to a point where you know you're so down and you're so angry and so depressed that you can't do any like commissions, right? Like
Yeah.
we need to like kind of learn how to balance that. We've talked about this a little bit with Kat in the past too, like on the
Yeah.
episode where Catnip was on here. But specifically with like a rebrand, I feel like I got to a point where I was so anxious about just like the podcast in general. Like the podcast was the change that was coming with it was just making me so anxious that I just wanted to ignore everything. And I don't know if you've ever gotten like this in the past, but like with me, with my anxiety, I shut down completely whenever something is like overwhelming to me.
Mhm.
And I shut down in the sense of like, I need to ignore this and I'm going to avoid it because it's going to go away. So
Yeah.
I definitely, and I know you noticed it because I said to you in a DM, I was like, hey, like, I feel like we're both just like ignoring this. Like, we're just like, nope, it's not happening because you were stressed out. I was stressed out. But yeah, my biggest thing was like that feeling of like, it's gonna like, not even like it's gonna go away because like I didn't want the podcast to go away, but it was like,
Yeah.
the rebrand is going to do itself if I just ignore it. Like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
you know? Um, but I had a really hard time trying to, I guess multitask is the word, like trying to balance that along with like communicating to you, which is another thing I wanted to touch on, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Like so like our podcast deals a lot with like mental health, and we were kind of struggling because we had taken on this big like this big rebrand, I guess you can say. And this is the first time we're ever doing anything like this. We're not
Mm-hmm.
podcast pros. Well, I don't know if you are, but I'm not a podcast pro.
I've edited podcasts. I don't consider myself to be a pro at doing them.
Yeah, exactly. And like before the podcast, it was like always kind of like fast paced. It was really like um lights, camera, action, let's go, because
Yeah,
we had to like quickly figure out stuff on the fly.
right.
Discord sometimes shuts down, and like video chatting would like be poo poo, and like how your camera would sometimes be blue, and like streaming and recording this podcast, or streaming the podcast, recording the podcast, and then being in front of an audience as well, like overworked our computers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like For me, the feeling of being distressed, like and rushed to get things perfect, and
Yeah, and
like
it's like it's all happening while I'm live, right? So it's like
yeah,
I'm sure that there was some sort of feeling of like I have to hurry up because I don't want, Pagu to have to wait and stuff. And I know I would get stressed out because I'm like, I don't know like when our guest is gonna be ready. I don't know when Aqua's gonna be ready. I don't know what to do right now. So
yeah.
yeah.
And especially since you're in a live audience, you got to be entertaining them while people are waiting on you, or like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
waiting for people. And
Yeah.
like also like communication also, because I felt for a long time it was like we were just very quiet for a little bit, and
Yeah.
I was like, Puggy's mad at me, I
Yeah.
fucked up this podcast, I'm like a failure. And I
Yeah.
know that you felt like that too, like
Hmm.
that we felt like we both didn't live up to each other's expectations.
Yeah, we
But
were both feeling the exact same thing, but weren't communicating that we were both feeling the exact same thing because you thought I was mad at you, I thought you were mad at me. It was like a whole, in like drama TV shows when like the boy has a
yeah,
crush on the girl and the girl has a crush on the boy, but they don't tell each other and then they go their separate ways and stuff. But it was like that,
yeah.
but we were like, we
And
stressed each
then
other out, but we didn't. Like we were both
yeah,
totally fine.
and we both, it wasn't like I hate Pagu or Pagu hates me. It was
Hmm.
like we both sat down and we were like, all right, so what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, what's happening?
Yeah. And that also goes into like learning how to manage a new project and how to
Hmm.
communicate,
Yeah.
and like how did you feel like about learning how to communicate in, especially in an online environment? Because it would be a lot easier if I just go to your studio and be like,
Yeah,
what's
if we
up,
could
let's
like
record this.
do it together. Yeah, like my boyfriend has a whole area where we could record this if we were together. So I guess like the live on top of not being together, like not being in the same space.
Hmm.
It was a lot. It was stressful and it definitely, we had to do a lot of stuff on the fly, but one huge thing just like with this podcast in general, I hate sugarcoating things. I'm gonna be completely honest with everyone listening. I am terrible at working with other people, and it's not the sense of like I don't want to work with other people. I have really 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 bad control issues, and
Hmm.
when when I work on projects, the reason that I stream, the reason I do like everything for my stream minus like the art, I can't draw, So
Hmm.
like the reason that like I do a lot of like solo projects like streaming YouTube, and that why I want to work for myself is because I get so much anxiety when I'm not in control of a situation. And I know that like a lot of people who suffer from anxiety also feel that way as well, but so when Aqua stepped forward, like when the podcast was like just starting and she said she wanted to do a podcast together, I was like all gung ho, but at the same time, I had that feeling that was like, I know that I'm either gonna fuck this up by being too controlling, or I'm not gonna know how to communicate and I'm just gonna do that thing like I was just talking about where I just ignore everything until it goes away, right?
Hmm.
Which I was like, I was just like waiting for one of the two to happen. So I think luckily Aqua is patient. She's a great friend. And she was able to kind of like help me, and I was able to learn how to communicate those feelings, which I think is so incredibly important when it comes to like managing a project and like doing something with another person and just like in an online environment in general. I think it's incredibly important to learn how to communicate. Like I guess even regardless if you're not working with another person, like you still have to communicate to your audience, right? Like you have to tell people like, hey, we're doing this, we're doing it. That was another thing that was hard for me, was like trying to figure out like when to tell people we're doing a rebrand, when to do this. But um I definitely communication is like my key to like managing and working on a new project. And I guess like being open about your state of being, right? Like
Yeah.
telling each other, hey, like I'm feeling anxious about this, or I'm feeling a little confused, or I'm feeling upset even. And we were able, I was able to communicate my feelings of anxiety with you, and we were able to like work through that. And you, like I told you, because for me personally, just how I function, um, I have an easier time like with my anxiety when both of us are communicating, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you telling me what's going on with you or what you need from me and me telling you what I need from whatever. So, I was able to tell you that, and here we are. Where we have another episode. But
Yeah.
um I think for anyone out there who also has those sort of anxieties when it comes to working with other people, my biggest sort of like advice towards that is just like, along with communicating. How many times have I said communicate in the last like 20 minutes? I don't even know. Along with communicating, I think just like going for it, because you're always going to surprise yourself if you just try, right? Like
Yeah.
the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out, and you think of something else, right? So I don't know. I think that was like a really big hump for me, and I know that it kind of like rubbed off to you as well, but what are you feeling?
So, for me, like, I completely feel the same way. I don't really have control. I think I have control issues, but I think I am a very patient person,
Mm-hmm.
and like, like I'm like dummy thick, like dumb thick, but I need people to tell me like exactly how it is and exactly what you need. And
Yeah.
like I told Poggy like we need these key terms because like we can be friends, but we need to make sure that once we get into podcast mindset, it's like
It's
at
business, baby.
yeah, it's business. We have to ask like like, hey, are you available to talk about the podcast today? Or like, I would like to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
Um, and then just be in the business mindset. And like with Pagu, I always repeat stuff. Like I would say, okay, so this is the plan, right? Like ABC 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
and
like laying
you
it
like
out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that works. That's the way I am able to function. Like I need to make sure that I'm on the same page as the other person, and the other person is on the same page as me. And like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like I butt heads with you, but I don't think it's more like butting heads. I feel like it's more like I'm asking this question too many times because I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep asking it until I completely understand, because
Yeah.
I'm like the type of person who will ask the professor the same question 3 freaking times. Why?
If
Because I'm
yeah, if
paying
it
to be
doesn't make
here.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And like you said, it's not like a butting heads as in like, no, that's a stupid idea. You're dumb. It's like, again, it kind of ties back into that whole like we're not together, right? You live
yeah.
on the complete opposite side of, well, I guess halfway across the country, right?
I live
So
4 hours away.
4 hours?
Yeah,
Is it really that? Okay, well, she lives 4 hours away. So it's like we're not next to each other. We're not able to like meet over coffee and like write everything down and make sure that we're on the same page. Like it is a lot of like communicating, like sending a message and then waiting for the person
oh
to see,
yes.
and it's not
Yeah,
like instant. And that's another thing that was like hard for me to try to like grasp onto. It's like, I'm so impatient, and I think that has to do with my control issues. Like I hate waiting for people to do things. We've discussed this before. I have a lot of issues when it comes to like, cleaning. Like whenever my boyfriend
yeah.
helps me clean, like I've gotten to a point where like I ask him like not to because I get so annoyed when he does things like 0.47 milliseconds slower than I want him to.
Mhm.
Hi, I have control issues, right? So I don't know. I think that definitely like just communication, dude. Like I feel like communication is just the answer to every problem ever to exist in
Yeah,
human
exactly.
nature. But I think
It's
along with
also
continue.
sorry, it's also like learning how to communicate. I feel like that's the difficulty
Yeah.
we are like overcoming, is just learning how to communicate. And like everybody should learn how to communicate, because not everybody will understand your your mind control vibes, you
Yeah,
know.
and like everyone has different ways of getting their point across and like saying what they need to say. So
Hmm.
it's not even a sense of like learning how to communicate, but also like learning how to listen. Because I think
Hmm.
that again, that was something that I had a hard time with when we first started this, was like I didn't know how to listen, and I was like stepping on toes, and I don't know. It was it was an adventure. We've gone through a lot. Not really, but I don't know. But
We have gone through a lot. Everyone
yeah,
who's listening, we've gone through a lot. So
we've
please.
gone through a lot, so keep listening.
Yeah.
But I think as well during all of that, right? Like we were, like you said, we were both like under the mindset of like, do we talk about it? Do we not talk about it? Like we're just kind of
Mhm.
like ignoring the whole thing. Like it was hard to keep our morale up around the podcast. Like
Yeah.
I remember telling you like I don't feel the same passion about this project as I did when we first started, and I hated that. I hated that I like looked at the podcast and like, you know, Thursdays would come around, which is when we would usually do the podcast live, and I
Mhm.
just like I would instantly get anxious and I would get stressed, and I was like I don't feel excited about it, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's when we kind of realized, you know, something needs to change. I think that whenever you get to a part or like a point in your life with a project, whether it be like an art project or music or your stream or YouTube or even the podcast, right? Like whenever you get to a point where you find yourself not being excited about it anymore, and
Mhm.
you're like low key like dreading it, I think that's a good sign of like we should rebrand, right? Or like we should redo something or do something differently, not
Different. Yeah.
necessarily like a full, you don't, you know, if you get bored of like your Twitch stream, you don't have to like completely rebrand everything, but I've been guilty of doing that. You know, but I think keeping positive during the whole thing was definitely like an adventure.
Yes.
um and the one thing that like kind of helped me, even though I do have control issues and I do have issues with working with people, like just being transparent, you know, anyone who's like ever gonna hire me in the future is listening to this right now being like, all right, so she can't work with other people, she sucks at doing but I think having the support of a friend to work with, like having the ability to like, you know, express how I was feeling to someone, to you,
Mhm.
was really helpful with that, with like keeping and like getting excited about the podcast again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I came to you and I said like I didn't, and wasn't that what kind of like sparked the whole rebrand in general, was just like I was like, "Hey, like what's going on with the podcast?" Because we had like pushed it off for a while, and then
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like we're not talking about it. And then I was like, to be honest with you, like, I don't feel excited to do it anymore. And then you were like,
Mhm.
let's do a rebrand. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. So it's that like bouncing off of each other's ideas and like just chatting, just like having that moral support, that like that friend, right? And I think
Yeah.
even if you're not working with another person, if you're like, you know, doing things by yourself. And that's why I preach all the time to all of my fellow Twitch streamers, to all of my YouTube creators, whatever. And I'm sure you do the same with like other artists. Like, it's so
Mhm.
important to have like a community or even like one other person who does what you do so that you can talk to them about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, freelance art and like freelance work in general, whether it's like music or whatever, and content creation is really competitive, and it's really no one, like there's no like book that tells you how to do everything, right? It's not like a
Yeah.
mechanic
Exactly.
where you're like, this is how you brand yourself. Like, it's hard, it's confusing, it's a learning curve. So I think even if you're not working with them, having people that you can talk to about like a project or even about a rebrand or like, you know, whatever, and
Yeah.
having those people that you can get excited with about it is like chef's kiss. You know what I mean? Like I have a
Yeah.
group of friends who stream, and we talk about it all the time. We'll talk about like, oh, I'm so excited to do my birthday stream, or I'm so excited to do my like subathon, or like I'm having a 12-hour stream, or we're doing a giveaway. Like just having that like backup like hype time, I think is just, it was helpful for me to have during this whole thing to kind of keep myself positive through it, you know?
Yeah. Like everybody should have their hype men. You know, that's
Yeah.
what that's what it's good, you know, to have people in your corner and be like, hell yeah, you're doing the right decision.
Yeah, you're
You
killing
know?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like during this time for keeping my morale up, like I know it was like the first week we stopped the podcast, we were very sulking,
Yeah.
and we were like, you know, what's going on? And I had a lot of internal issues coming up, and I felt like I was like failing you. And also because like I have issues with friends. Like I had talked to you about how like I had a friend who made me prove to her that
Yeah.
we were friends, and I would have to constantly be proving to her that like I'm not a failure or that I'm worth being a friend. And I
Yeah.
felt like I had to keep trying to prove myself, but it was like I'm failing, but I need to prove myself. And um and that sort of affected my health, and thankfully we talked it through,
Yeah.
and it helped me a lot. And like I really enjoyed making the podcast, but you were right about like Thursdays, how like
Yeah.
I enjoyed the idea of the podcast. I enjoyed when we were doing it.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy leading up to it. And then you know, and then like having to, and we were like sort of in a stalemate of like what do we, how, like what do we do now, like
Yeah.
because I wanted to do like a YouTube. And there's another thing about like communication, like I wanted to do like other things and help out like with the Twitter, and like help out with other stuff.
Yeah.
And it was sort of one-sided
Hmm.
before then, because I know you had done the Twitter and everything.
Yeah.
So I
I
felt
had like
like,
all the I had set up like all the social medias and like all the YouTube stuff, and that goes back to like my control stuff where it was like I just did it, right? And it wasn't like
mhm,
I want to have access to it. Or not even like I need to have access to it. Like I had already had, you know, a YouTube channel. I already had a Twitter for the podcast back when I did it with my boyfriend. So it's like,
mhm.
you know, I didn't even think about it, right? But yeah, it it was nice to talk about that stuff. And like honestly, like it took some stress off of my shoulders too, because I was editing it, I was posting it, I was, you know,
Yeah.
and you asked me multiple times and I was like, no, I'm fine. When they ask you if you're fine and you're not really fine, like insert Katy Perry meme, like yeah, it was, I totally agree with you on that.
Like I enjoy the podcast because I love coming up with ideas. You know me, I love making like these really cool ideas. I have so many ideas in my head, and I
Hmm.
just need to shout them out and then see which one sticks. And
Yeah.
I I want to see like what like new adventures we get from this podcast. And like
Yeah.
I know that this branding had a lot of struggles. Like it has its high points and it had its low points, and like uh I have like a lot of hopes and plans for the immediate future. How about you?
I do too. I think that you know, on top of what we were doing, right? Like
Hmm.
with the interviews and all of that. I think that going back to more of like a laid back vibe, because that's what we initially wanted, right? Like we wanted this to be, it started because, you know, you came to me and you were like, we need to have like some sort of thing, or like you said, you wanted to have some sort of thing where you could express your feelings and just let everything out and just relax and chill, specifically during like COVID and quarantine, because like everything was crazy, right? And we wanted
Yeah.
people to be able to have some place where they could, you know, whatever. And I think that we didn't have like set, we didn't communicate that well enough personally.
Hmm.
Like that's what I came to the conclusion of. But like I want to go back to, I want to go back to the good old days, right? Where we had like our solo episodes and we were just talking about things and talking about life and, you know, maybe like educating people on something or along those lines. But you know, on top of the interviews with other creators, with friends, I do want to have these moments where we're just chilling and sitting and relaxing and maxing and whatever. um, I also would like to post these episodes on YouTube as well. We made a YouTube channel for the
Yeah.
podcast. Yes.
YouTube.com/.
Slash, it doesn't have a URL because we don't have 100 subscribers yet.
Oh yeah, that's
um,
yep.
But it's there. It's called Brain Squeeze, right? Brain Squeeze podcast, Brain Squeeze, one of the
Yes.
two. And we are going to be uploading our episodes, so I'm excited to do that. I really enjoy editing videos and like just making YouTube content now, which was like a huge struggle for me in the past. Like
Hmm.
YouTube is hard, but I feel like once you start to enjoy it, it becomes a little bit easier. But I'm excited to post the episodes. We're doing a fun little thing too. It was Aqua's idea where we the video format. So if you're listening to this on video, you're looking at our adorable little Animal Crossing characters
Yes.
just chilling and vibing with each other. So
Look at my coffee
you
cup.
yeah, we got a coffee cup. I got my little laptop and our little candle. What do you think the candle smells like? I'm gonna go. I have a candle lit right now.
Watermelon.
A watermelon, watermelon, watermelon sugar high candle by Harry Styles. And yeah, so I'm excited to do some more like YouTube stuff with the podcast and have our little Animal Crossing chat moments right now. um,
Yes, exactly.
and then on
And
top of
like,
that, like continuing the interviews and stuff. But
mhm.
yeah,
Yes, it's the same podcast, just a different name. I
yeah,
also wanted to bring up that's why we called ourselves, the Brain Squeeze podcast, because we're going to be talking about mental health, but we also want to talk more about like what piques your brain, what
yeah,
piques our brain, what piques people's brain.
yeah.
You know, you know what they say, you can pick your own brain, but you can't pick your friend's brain. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I liked the name. Like it. How long did it take us to come up with Brain Squeeze? Like
Probably a week.
it was it was hard to come up with a name, and Aqua just said it one day, and I was like, wait a minute. Because like, when you think of like a squeeze, you either think of like a hug or you think of like squeezing lemons, where you're like squeezing
Yes,
juice out of something. And I was like, this is perfect because we're a mental health based, well, like kind of like mental health. We talk about mental health a lot.
advocate. Yeah.
Advocates, right? And like a squeeze is like a hug. So we're like hugging your brain, right? We're talking about nice things, we're talking about mental health, giving your brain a hug. But at the same time, we do like to talk to other creators about different topics, and like, YouTube creators, Twitch creators, maybe like even in the future like some esports players. I don't even know.
Yes. Yeah.
We do like to talk to them and like squeezing the information, squeezing the stuff out of their brain. So I was like, this is the most perfect name ever in the
Yeah.
existence of ever. So if you were curious on why we went with that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
excited for the future.
I'm excited too. I didn't want are the podcast just to be like confined to one or two topics or one or
Yeah.
two things, I felt like hopefully now we can like include more questions, try out different things on different platforms like
Yeah.
um oh, we also have a forum that you can.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Put your questions in. Let us know what you want to hear. We're open to trying different things out.
Yeah, it's over
Um,
on in my Discord server, right? It's
mhm.
posted in there. So if you ever have like a big brain idea and you want us to talk about it, then go ahead and fill out that form. If there's like, if you're a creator and you want to be on the podcast, hey, hit us up through that forum. Like, you are more than welcome to do that. If you know want us to talk about a specific thing or like a current topic, like, you'll never know. It'll be helpful for us too, because like we said, it was tough for, even though Aqua is big brain and likes to come up with ideas, sometimes it can be hard. So
Yes.
yeah, awesome. Is there anything else that we should add? Are we getting to the ending and the ending line? That's not what that's called. The finish line.
The finish. Well, I mean, we can thank our sponsors again.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So
Yes.
thank you to our gorgeous and wonderful and multi-talented sexy sponsor.
What the don't. I think we can all
at
sing.
I think we all sing at The Real Pagu and at AquaMocha for providing us with so much wonderful artwork and content to spice up our lives. So, for all of your video and audio editing needs, DM me, The Real Pagu. I can make a nice channel trailer for you. I can edit your YouTube videos, whatever the heck you want. I got you. And also, if you're looking for any emotes, sub badges, bit badges, or channel art, DM Aqua. She's a wonderful artist, great, wonderful, fast delivery, and awesome quality content work. She will take care of all of your
Yeah.
art needs. Like I said, she's doing some emotes for my channel. Just did some bit badges, like on
Hell
fire.
yeah.
On fire,
On
dude.
fire. And thank you again for everyone joining us today on this conversation. Thank you, Pagu, for having me. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, because we're recording in your little hut in Animal
Oh
Crossing.
yeah, you're in my house.
Yes.
Of
Thank you very
course.
much. I'll make sure to flush the toilet.
Thank you.
I hope the rebrand is exciting for all of you as it is for us. If you haven't already, please make sure to follow us on Twitter if you would like to continue the discussion we had here today at
Mhm.
Brain Squeeze Pod, like the Tide Pods. Anyways, and to find us on YouTube at Brain Squeeze. And please remember, your feelings are important and valid. If you ever need a friend, you know where to find us. We appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to join this conversation. Go take care of yourself.
Yay!
Bye. Woo.
Okay. I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay, now stopping.